Welcome to the Norse Thread. This is a Norse mystic perspective on Nordic spirituality. So what does that mean? Well, in Norse mysticism, Norse spirituality, we have, of course, the gods that are venerated and honored and spoken of in these myths. And what does that look like in our lives? Well, from this perspective, these are divine essences that live amongst all things, that live and dwell in the universe, in the earth, and inside of us. And these divine essences have attributes that we can associate with ourselves and how we're behaving, how we're perceiving the world. So how does this all come together? This all comes together in community, where we study and practice. The Norse spiritual spaces can definitely be a lot of study. And I have no doubt immersed myself in books, a lot of intellectual thought and study, and that's great. But putting it into practice is where it really becomes a part of our life in a tangible and felt way. So we're wanting this to be experiential. This is an experiential space, and study is a part of that as well. The other parts of that come down to breathwork and meditation and chant. Now, as a practitioner and teacher of yoga and breathwork, when I was studying Norse spirituality, it came down to understanding that Odin is the giver of this sacred breath, Und. And no wonder breathwork is so beneficial to so many people, myself included, in their spiritual path and in their just mental health. Because Und, this life force given to us by Odin in the myths, is at the center of it. Every single inhale and exhale you take is this divine gift. And so we approach our breathwork that way. And we also do our breathwork practices in a Norse cosmology. What does that mean? It means that the 9 realms are very real places in this universe. This is a very real way of understanding. The Norse knew this. That's why they traversed the earth with such skill. Without going into that too much, so this cosmology, we really get inside of it. We get it inside of ourselves and understand that these 9 realms are very real. And traversing them, becoming one that can traverse the 9 realms, is a skill and a power that we wish to enact. Meditation. So also with meditation, we're observing the 9 realms, we're observing our body, and we're learning these through different techniques from yoga. And as a longtime student of yoga and a longtime practitioner and teacher of yoga, I have implemented this Norse cosmology into many of these practices and teach them as such. The third part is sacred chant. My favorite part, but to sing out in devotion to the essences that live inside of us, that live in the earth, is something that humanity is deeply in need of, in my opinion. And so the vibrational essence of these energies, of Odin, of Freya, of Tyr, of Frigg, to sing in the sacred chanting way through Old Norse, it just brings all of that online in our body and in our system. And when we create that current together, this sonic field of the Norse thread, it's incredibly powerful. So through breathwork, meditation, and chant, we're activating and implementing this Norse thread in our lives. And doing so in community makes that thread stronger, makes that thread reach out to more and more people that may be needing it, that may be in need of it in these times. So who am I? My name is Aaron. I've been a teacher and practitioner of both yoga and breath work, and also worked as a coach for many years. And in my studies of many different spiritual traditions, ranging from plant medicine and associated with Umbanda, Brazil, and Africa, as well as Kabbalah, and as well as many other traditions that I've climbed inside of, really dedicated spiritual study to, there has always been this Norse thread that I've gone into study as I studied the runes, as I read more and more books and developed a practice inside of myself. I can see how they all correlate to this Norse thread, and that there's something to be unearthed and celebrated and given to the world. And so what I've created here is exactly that. So as a spiritual seeker many years ago, I came upon a plant medicine ceremony, and I was a yoga teacher, a meditator, and I was studying for a master's degree in yoga philosophy. And in that ceremony, what I realized that there had always been this longing for my spiritual roots, for the spiritual technology of my blood, this spiritual inheritance, if you will. So in discovering that longing for my roots, I started to develop systems inside of myself and practices while I was learning so much from other lineages as well as my own in Norse spirituality. So all of that comes together in this space. There are hours and hours of teachings, of lessons from Norse myth and how that acts in the real world, how we can really connect to that in real tangible ways. There are many, many videos of practices, both breath and meditation, and also chanting in this way that I've created these Old Norse chants. We'll be meeting live very often to practice together and also have a time of discussion, of sharing, of being in community. We'll be chanting, doing breath work, doing these guided meditations on the 9 realms, and then afterwards having a time to share how we're connecting to these energies and to this Norse thread of wisdom. And so thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you inside.